The sport of off-road racing is full of incredible stories, wild characters, legends, and even villains. We cover it all on offroadracer.com, but there's only so much we can put down in an article. Sometimes we have to dig a little deeper, and that means sitting down with some of our industry's most influential characters and hitting record. Welcome to the Off-Road Racer podcast, a Mad Media production, made exclusively for offroadracer.com. Each month, we'll go beyond the dirt into the homes, shops, and lives of the most interesting and game-changing icons of our sport. You'll hear about their history, success, failure, and everything in between as we pull back the curtain and reveal the stories of their lives. I'm your host, Matt Martelli, and this is the Off-Road Racer podcast. I'm Matt Martelli. This is the Off-Road Racer podcast, and I'm here with my man, Larry Heidler. Larry, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. I just got invited down here, come down to a podcast with you guys after the Parker 400 race. Luckily, I was able to take the top spot in it.
Well, I don't know how much luck that was. You guys drove your ass off.
Yeah. I had a couple of good luck times. We had my co-driver, Carson. He rode the whole race, and then I split up the driving. I did the first 2 laps, and Ethan Groom did the last lap, bring it home.
Yeah, that's really cool that you're splitting duties with Ethan. He's young, up-and-comer, but he's been doing really well.
Yeah, the funny thing is, a couple of years back, Kobe approached me about him co-driving with me a couple of times, just get him, used to the desert stuff. He co-drove with me for, 3 or 4 or 5 races. And then I talked to Kobe here about a month ago and asked me, hey, what do you think about splitting the duties with driving with Ethan? And I said, why not?
That's really cool. So you got time to get comfortable with each other.
Yeah, I'm still new to this car. I just got this car. First race I did in it was Silver State last year. Unfortunately, we got about 120 miles, had a mechanical. And then I raced the BITD Laughlin race and then the Sonora race, Rage of the River, and then came out swing with you guys.
Yeah, and you were saying earlier, Dan built this car for you over at Lonestar, right?
Yeah. I was hesitant about what I was going to do with my build, and my buddy Randy convinced me just take it to Dan. Look who's winning all the races, and they're coming off of his cars, whether it be Can-Am and or Polaris.
Yeah.
And great decision, man. That car is so good. I mean, he built it to the way the person wants it and how the racer wants it, and that's the way we did.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you get a successful builder like Lonestar. They're getting so much data back from different groups of drivers that then they can share and apply to the platform that it becomes a difficult thing to beat, you know what I mean, in terms of building. Right now there's a handful of builders out there, but Lonestar is definitely at the top. Yeah,
Dan built some really good stuff, man, and he just came out with his new front end, and I tried it out for the first time when I did the Rage of the River, and I'm telling you right now, that front end is a game changer. It works really, really well. And I'm not big on trying things. I'm more of a creature of habit. But I did make that change, and I'm telling you, it's definitely well worth it.
And so you changed the front end on your Pro R, right?
Yeah, so it's he has a new spindle for it with the upper and the lower A-arm. And I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I don't know how the stuff works. I just know it works good.
Right. It's it's funny because I know enough to be dangerous, but don't ask me to set your car up because I'm not going to be able to do it correctly. Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
But you can definitely feel. I mean, it's a known problem that the Pro Rs push in the corners. So that's been something that, people have been trying to solve, but that's curious. It makes me curious. I want to drive that car and feel the difference.
Well, it takes a lot of the push away.
Yeah.
But it also takes a lot of the feedback that we get from the steering wheel too.
Yeah.
And through some of the chop and the rough and stuff like that, it really stabilizes the car.
Now, is what type of course do you like racing? Is it the longer, faster stuff like Parker or the rougher stuff like Mint?
It's been a couple of years since I've done the Mint. I've never drove the Mint. I've co-rode in the Mint a couple of times. Parker to me wasn't rough at all. It was more of a freeway. But that's because the car, I mean, it soaks up so much stuff. Going up Shea Road, or I don't know, was that Osborne Washington the first?
Sure, yeah, Osborne Wash.
I mean, dude, we're doing 85, 90 miles down the center of those whoops, and the car just pushes right through it.
It's interesting too when you get the different perspectives. You know, I'm sitting at the finish line as guys are crossing. They're, you know, half of them are going, "Man, that was so gnarly," and the other half of them are going, "That was easy." You know, like, let's go do another lap, right?
Well, the only thing I could say that was bad about the course was the rocks. I mean, it just ate my car up. There's, I mean, I run the Fox shot guard, the shot covers made by, I think, who was you guys had them out there? I can't think of the name off the top of my head. Seal Saver.
Oh, Seal Saver. Yeah, they build some great products.
They do. And I stopped by them on my way out the other day, or when we left the course, and both rear shocks, the Seal Savers were gone.
Yeah.
And I talked to the guy about it, and he's like, no, that's, you know, probably more likely that's from the spring pinch in it. Well, I took them off and showed them, and no, the rocks just ate them up.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't really understand how much abuse these vehicles take, and especially when you're on loose, rocky terrain like that. Like, all those rocks that are coming off the front tires are going right into the car and into the rear suspension and the chassis and everything, and they're taking a beating.
Dude, it pitted up all the way up on my motor. I mean, everything's pitted on the side of that car. I'm kind of bummed out because she was so pretty before.
Not anymore.
No.
That's off-road racing. It's like you start with these beautifully prepped cars,
yep,
and then you just beat the hell out of them, and and then you re-prep them for the next race.
Yeah. That's what my goal right now is get everything prepped and ready to go for the Mint, because pretty much going through a full rebuild on the car. You know, all the drivetrain's getting replaced. And, I mean, there's going to be a lot of fast guys there. I know all the factory Polaris guys are going to be there. I know, Brandon Sims will be there, and Piplick and Sierra. And, I mean, it's not going to be easy, but all we can do is go out and push, right?
Yeah, you had some gamers racing Parker as well that you managed to finish ahead of, Braden Baker and a whole handful of other people where they were chasing at you guys all day.
Yeah, I had no idea where I was at. I got out of the car at main pit after the second lap. And when I got out of the car, that's why I realized what position I was in, because I had no idea. I mean, yeah, we see people we pass, but, my focus wasn't on where I was at. It was just keep pushing forward and, stay on course.
Yeah, no, totally. That's the thing, is like always forward momentum, right?
Yeah.
Not wasting time with flats or mechanicals and all that. So, run through the race, how the race went for you.
Well, we qualified decent. I think I qualified 5th in class and 18th or 19th overall. But once, I'm not sure how it all worked out, but I started 18th overall. And we just started picking away. I mean, there's a couple people broke down right in the infield even. I'm like, man, that's kind of bummed out. You spend all this time and effort to build your car, and then you break down that close into the race. But no, we just came around the first lap, and we took fuel twice just at main pit each time. Everything was good. Took off. I got out of the car after the second lap and handed over to Ethan and my co-driver Carson. I even asked Carson, hey, are you good to go on the third lap? He said, yep. In fact, Carson Sandberg just started co-driving with me last year, doing a couple races, and kid's learning. I mean, he's new at it, but he's learning. He's eager to learn, and he's really good help, and excited for him to grow up. And he's racing in pro now with Works, and he's doing really well.
Nice. That's rad. It's rad to be able to give younger kids the opportunity to learn in that seat, and see. I think it's one of the things for me in riding with other people. I've been able to see very quickly like what they're doing, and so I've noticed that every time I've done it when I was younger, it advanced my skill set really quickly.
Racing against your dad is something that 90% of the racers in the world will never get.
I've accomplished everything I wanted to do, and now he's just like taking the reins. I want to be remembered for being a huge part of short course, not just racing, keeping it alive, helping it grow. If it comes down to the last weekend and I'm in it, the boys better watch out.
Yeah, because I'm not a guy that just sits in the car and silent. We talk a lot in the car, and sometimes about where we're going to dinner because I'm hungry because I don't typically eat before the race.
Right.
But that's always a joke we always all have about, going up and down the course. Like, man, I'm so hungry. Oh, there's a Starbucks over there.
Maybe we should jangle some steaks out at certain places in the course. That'd be sick.
I know a lot of people, they tape food to their roof and stuff. I don't eat, though. I typically, even Vegas to Reno, I'll, have something real small in the morning, and then I'll eat when I hit Dayton.
Yeah. It just makes that steak taste good, right?
Oh yeah,
it's like the best meal of your life is like tacos after an off-road race, right?
No, I've had one up on that. One year we raced, and I was so hungry when I got done with the race. And Claudia, she had these hot dogs that were in these tin foils. I'm not sure quite how long.
Yeah.
I unrolled that thing. I looked at that thing. It was the best hot dog I ever ate.
It's funny how it puts that into context. It's always like the best beer you've ever had, the best shower you've ever had, and then the best meal, right?
Yep. Sometimes it's the simplest foods that makes it taste the best.
Yeah, no, totally. Well, I know you have done a lot of racing before you got to this point. Talk about your history. How did you get into off-road racing?
Well, I started out years ago in dirt bikes, and then I had both my knees operated on, and I couldn't ride. Doctor kept telling me, stay off the bike. So I went and rode my buddy's quad, got hooked on the quads for a long time, and then pretty competitive with that. I think it was in 06. I broke my back. Luckily, it wasn't catastrophic for me. And then after that, I really never had that drive to get back to racing. And, so that's about when the side-by-side stuff started picking up really big. And a couple years after that going, I started racing side-by-sides in 2014. Bought my first car. And, here I am with the Pro R Lonestar 2, my Lonestar car that, thing's rad, man. That car's so good.
Yeah, that's what I honestly really love about this class is that, sure, it takes a couple of bucks to come race. But like you have the same car that Brandon Sims has that all these other factory guys have, right? So it's not like the guys who are supported by the factory have so much more car that they can just dominate. Like, yeah, they have more time, they have more support, but like it's really cool when an independent guy like you can still come and beat everybody. And I think that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah, they definitely have more advantages when it comes to some things, but at the end of the day, we're all racing the same type of car, and we all have to make our cars last. And that's it's funny because we've all talked about this. I first started co-driving with Piplick years ago, I think in maybe 17, something like that. And dude, the biggest thing we had back then was trying to find enough places to stuff belts.
Yeah.
To put in the car, because we'd go through 7-8 belts in a race.
Yeah.
And now, look at, half the teams that did the Baja last year, they did 1,300 miles all in the same belt.
Yeah. The technology continues to get better. These are, they have been amazing cars for what they go through, for what they cost. And the fact that you can finance them is just cool, right?
Dude, if I try to finance a race car, my wife would kill me. I'm lucky enough. My wife is very supportive. She may not like some of the stuff, but she knows it's something I'm very passionate about, and I love. And I love when she comes with me to the races. And it's been a long journey. I've been racing since her and I've been together.
Nice. Well, that's cool. So talk about the guys that you've rode with, because like obviously riding with somebody of Piplick's caliber, like you get to see and learn, in that right seat. And do you think that gives you an advantage in terms of how quickly you picked up your driving skill set?
Yeah, riding with those guys, and I still kind of I don't want to call it cross training, but I still race works, in the pro class. And the desert, I do, obviously, but I think the work skill set still helps me out a lot because it's very high intensity pace and keeps you thinking a lot. But I co-drove with a few people. Now I'd rather drive though.
Right. I'm the same way, but it's interesting. Who are the other people that you co-drove with?
Not too many other people. Years ago, I did, the Score Series with a buddy of mine, Eric, back in the Rhino days, man. I remember him and I were driving going into the Bay of LA, and at the time we were going down the road that heads into the Bay.
In a Rhino.
And dude, we were high-fiving each other because we hit 62 miles an hour going downhill. And that was like, average speed back then was 40, 45, 46 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And now,
And what size tires? That was probably like 26s or something?
26 or 28s. I think we had 28s, but those are huge tires.
Right.
And when I raced Laughlin this year, or last year for Rage, I hit 101 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, just the technology difference is crazy. A buddy of mine just bought my old, not my old, it was a 2023 Turbo R 4-seater. And he was going from a 15 XP 1000. And I took him for a ride out by my shop, and he's like, dude, I cannot believe the technology difference.
Yeah.
He says, what's going to happen in another 8 years?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's cool. And there's a lot of new stuff coming from Can-Am, from Polaris. I was just at the Kawasaki dealer meeting, and, they teased some stuff coming. I know Honda's got stuff coming. So I think the vehicles are just going to get faster, more reliable, more capable. But I mean, already when you look at the amount of travel that they have, 26, 28 inches of travel for the size of vehicle they are, it's pretty incredible, It's going to be interesting to see the gap close between, UTVs and really in 6100s, in the unlimited spec trucks.
Well, I think pretty much our Pro Rs are a 4-wheel drive 10 car.
Yeah.
And the only thing that separates us from a 10 car is we have 2 extra drive in the front. But I mean, I think the manufacturers are doing really good, and all I've ever raced is Polaris, and I definitely love my vehicles, and they build a hell of a product. But I think there's suspension companies. I'm sponsored by Fox. I've been with them for many, many years. They're great suspension. And I know there's some more technology coming out that are around the corner that is just insane on what they can do. I mean, I'm going through Shea Road doing 85 miles an hour, going through 4-foot whoops. And I'm still looking over to talk to my co-driver, and the car's not out of control.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about the suspension evolution, and especially with Fox, right? Like going back to not even having coilovers and not even having reservoir shocks, right? And now we have all this adjustability and technology, and now electronics, right? And now the ability to control the shock in multiple places is pretty incredible. I'm excited for the future. And Fox is obviously leading the attack, but it's interesting to see the other brands entering into the space and realizing, what it's worth, and also the fact they're a little bit behind for the most part. But King's got some really good stuff. Now brands like Bilstein are starting to wake up and pay attention to the market, because I think what they've realized is that guys buy shocks for their UTV, and then they buy those same shocks for their truck. Yep. So it's an important entry point for these products now, and they're just beginning to realize that. Yeah,
the technology of Fox and everything else is just, it's just crazy. I remember back in the day, you bump into a curb, you're about bucks you out of the car. My car, you can drive over a curb and it's not even there. Polaris and Fox developed the oh shit button on the steering wheel. And sometimes I almost get thumb pump. I'm pushing that thing so many times. But no, it works. The car realizes when it's, turning, it stiffens up that outer shock. Just crazy how the technology has changed over the years.
Yeah, it's amazing. What tires and wheels are you running?
Right now in my desert car, I run the, I believe they're the 413, the forged wheels from Method. And I'm running the 35-inch GBC Parallax tire. No flats, no... I looked at the tires after the race, even all the rocks that, we hit, ran over, went through everything, bushes, maybe a few. I mean, not a cut, not a scrape, not a pinch mark, nothing on them.
That's amazing. I mean, they build a great product. GBC is one of those brands who, like, I don't think they market very hard, right? So I think they don't get a lot of the credit they deserve.
No, they do a lot of marketing through their racers. They help out the racers a lot, and I've been with them since my quad days. And then when I got in side-by-sides, they've been very gracious. They helped me out tremendously. I mean, they have product for my trailer I put tires on. I put tires on my truck. And they support me with all my racing. It's just really incredible how much they help.
Nice. And who are you working with there?
Corey Ellis, he's my main guy that I deal with. I've known him for, years and years.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good dude. So, no, that's awesome. So, you've got the Mint coming up, right? And you're in the points lead, no pressure. And, and everybody's coming for you, right? Because that's the race everybody wants to win, right? So what's your mindset going into that race?
Well, it's funny. I had breakfast this morning with Kobe earlier today, and Brock Hager and Cade McCachran and Max Eddy and that core group of those factory guys and Brandon Sims. I mean, there's just a laundry list of guys out there. And I mean, can I beat those guys? I'm going to give it a hell of a shot. Are they beatable? 100%. But it's going to take, a good car and being consistent and not destroying the car. That's what I really understand. I mean, anybody can go fast, but you got to keep the car so it don't break.
Yeah, especially on the Mint course. Like the Mint course, people need to understand, like, you could take the most prepped unlimited truck out there and overdrive it and break it easy, right? And it happens.
I think is like from the promoter's perspective, the more breakage they have, like, man, we built a good course.
Yeah, it's funny because Casey Folks and I used to argue about the finish rate, right? He wanted like a 70% finish rate, and I thought it should be closer to 50%. Just because, that's what this racing's about, is the challenge, right? And once it becomes too easy, then what are we doing, right? But with that in context, this is also not King of the Hammers, where we're just like,
they got 10% finish rate.
Yeah, just nobody finishes, right? The guy who finishes wins, right? So I think there's a balance, and we want people to have a good time, but come away and that's one thing I'm really proud of with the Mint course is, you get to the finish line, you do not want to do another lap. You're glad to be at that finish line. And that to me is kind of the perfect amount of like, okay, we kicked your ass. You appreciate being here. You've earned it. But it's
a love-hate relationship.
Of course, it's got to be, right? Because again,
I love to see you there, but God, I hated you for it.
Yeah, it's got to be, and that's really the beauty of it is like, if you don't feel like you earned it, then the value's not there, right? And that was one of the things I struggled with Parker is like, I think Parker is a pretty easy course.
Yeah.
But
there was definitely some rough sections, but these cars, like we've talked about before with the technology, it soaks up so much. I'm really kind of curious to see how my car does. I mean, I remember back in the day and when I co-drove in that car in that race with Piplick, I'm excited to see how much better this car works in it. And again, I'll be partnering up with Ethan. He'll do some of the driving, and I'll have my co-driver Carson. That kid has no idea what he's in for. He'll stay in the whole race, but he may not want it afterwards.
Yeah, no, but that's good. That's how you learn. And excuse me, I think that with the Mint course in particular, it's like one of those things where when you get to that finish line, you're stoked. You're like, cool, I finished the Mint. But I think to your point earlier about, all the guys that are coming, Hager, there's no denying how fast that guy is. Max Eddy, he's fast too. Cade McCachran's fast, but I think that when you look at the last 4 or 5 years, let's say, of the Mint course, the people that are winning are the people who are saving their cars. And they're there for that last lap, and then they're turning it on and going, okay, how hard do I need to push, based on where I'm at? And I think, that's one thing about off-road racing that makes it very special, is just like having the mental, fortitude to slow yourself down and save your car, and knowing when to push and when not to push. I'll never forget, it was after Rob McEachran had won the Ball 1000. We were hanging out, having a beer or something, and, just talking about philosophies. And I'm asking him all these questions. Well, what did you do here? And how did you do this? And what do you do in the dust? And blah, blah, blah. And he goes, in that context, he goes, Matt, he goes, do you know how much I won by? And I go, no. How much? And he goes, nobody else knows either. They just know that I won. And that's how he thinks, is like, he goes into it, and it's like a chess match that he lets it play out and come to him, and he tries to stay in a position where he's never out of the race, but he's never overdriving, right? So that he can, more or less like slide in the last lap. Like, how many times have we been like focused on the top 4 or 5 guys battling it out, and it's like, where's Rob? Right? And then he comes across the finish line, and everybody's like stressing, looking at the times. He's like, hey dude, I know I won. I knew my split times. I knew how hard I needed to push win, and I'm just waiting for him to say my name, and they do.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting philosophy to understand that. Like, I think naturally you want to go crazy and win by an hour and defeat everybody, magnanimously or whatever.
It's not like that anymore, though.
No.
I mean, we go a 400-mile race, and it comes down to, minutes.
Or seconds.
Yeah. And, after... Ethan brought up the last leg, and I was at the finish line, and he came across, and Killian's over there watching us stop. I'm like, dude, come on, let's go. He's like, well, we got to make sure the time. And when the time hits, when I finally sank in, I'm like, man, we finally did it.
Yeah.
Because it was, Sierra was pushing hard. I know she had a bad day at qualifying, and man, that family doesn't ever quit, dude.
No,
they drove back to Vegas. Randy didn't get back until 1 a.m.
Yeah.
To put her car back together, and it was an unusual failure, but that team also doesn't ever quit, and that's what it takes. I mean, you can build the most baddest car out there, but there's always that weird. I mean, you still have the machine you're still fighting against too,
Yeah. But yeah, the Romos are badasses. I love them, and I appreciate their tenacity, like you were saying. Randy had to, he had a failure, catastrophic failure with one of the shocks, and it was unusual. So he had to go drive back to, I think, Vegas.
He went to Vegas, went to his house, pulled the car out of his stacker, pull equipment off of that, take it to another guy. Yeah. He stayed. I mean, he's helped you guys. Robert Campbell, he's helped you guys with recovery and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and then for them to get back, and she still did that well. I mean,
she's
love that kid though, man. Her and we argue all the time about stuff.
Sierra is a badass. I think I'm excited for her future because I know she's going to have her day, and when she does, she's definitely paid her dues. But I think it's also a testament to the tenacity of that family. I mean, Randy's a savage, she's a savage,
They became a really good good family friends of ours, really. I mean, we do we go to the beach and stuff together, but I know Sierra will be watching this, and her first accomplishment is going to be, you want to know what it's going to be, Matt?
What's that?
When she finally gets to beat me.
Yeah.
Every time we race against each other, I always beat her. It just kills her.
That's funny. No, she's a gamer, man. She's going to have her day. And I think, kind of the way it works in off-road is, you get that big victory and then you get the momentum and you get the confidence. And, usually at that point, your prep and everything is all dialed in. And
well, they do it all themselves.
No, I know.
And I know Randy spends, and you know what? Sierra might be a young, pretty girl, but I'll tell you what, that kid gets in there.
Yeah.
I mean, she'll have her nails done on Thursday, and Thursday night she's over there greasing axles. I mean, that kid gets in there, and they do it all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's so cool about them. Like, you get most of these young girls that race or whatever, and they're over there in the house with mom and stuff. No, they're out in the garage.
Yeah.
And I've been there. I've stayed at their house several times, and they'll be out there till midnight, 1 o'clock. It don't matter when.
Yeah. No, it's one of the things I love about this culture too is that how hands-on everybody is, or most people are. And I think that, I always talk about that being an advantage of understanding your vehicle and what it's capable of. And then when something's going wrong, then you know how to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
You're not just like, calling to your pit going, I don't know anything, I'm pulling in, there's a problem, right?
Something's wrong.
you got to know, hey, get ready, we got to pull a drive shaft off, or we've blown a shock, or we have a flat, or whatever the issue is, and you've got to be like diagnosing it coming in. That's if you're getting help. If you're not getting help, which is the majority of the time, you got to pull over, and you and your co-driver have to deal with it as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Because now, like you said, it's like just a flat can cost you the race, let alone a bigger mechanical issue.
Yeah. And that's part of the problem is, I mean, like I said, you can prep the car to the best of your ability and have everything brand new, and there's always could be that one little failure part that you never anticipated or whatever, and then all that we can do is just prep the best car we can, put all the best parts that we feel has the best chance of winning, and go out there and do it. I came into this the desert stuff with this Pro R and not knowing a lot about it, and he probably gets tired of me calling him, but I'll call Randy or I'll call Kobe or Piplick, and that's the one thing I love about this part of it, man. Everybody's always willing to help, When I first met the Romos years ago, we were racing Works out at Orleans, and my car would not run. And I didn't even know them at all. I knew my buddy Nick. He knew them. We went over to Randy's trailer, which was a mini Polaris parts store, and not even know me. I raced against him at the time and gave me access to any part I needed to try to fix my car.
Sure.
And like I said, from there, we done trips all over the place together. We travel a lot together. We hang out. We go to Vegas, hang out at his house. And it's just, they're a good family. And that's what, side-by-sides are a lot different from a lot of other motorsports. I mean, we're all like a huge family. I mean, we all hang out. We all talk. And of course, there's going to be a little animosity between this person and that person. But for the most part, it's a big group.
Well, I think that's indicative of off-road culture, period. I think that, you have to be a certain type of person to want to come and do this, because this isn't easy, right? So then when you see other people that are like you, there's kind of this camaraderie where you're like, okay, they're also a savage, right?
Yeah.
And then you appreciate that, right? And it's like, yes, we're competing. I want to beat you, but I want to beat you straight up. I don't want to have some secret advantage. I want to go out there, go toe to toe, and say, hey, today I was a better racer. And I love that about our culture, and it's to your point, especially UTV racing, there's a lot of guys who are sharing, knowledge that in other forms of racing they wouldn't.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, when you figure out something, you don't want to tell everybody else, but a lot of times we do,
Yeah.
Because I want to beat you heads up. I don't want to beat you. Oh, that guy broke because I had that part he needed. I'm not that type of person,
No, totally. So Parker 400, biggest win of your career. What do you do next to follow that up? I mean, obviously.
We both know I want to go after the mint, but
yeah. But even beyond that, are there other races that you look at that you really like and you want to win, or?
My big race I want to do is obviously the Mint. I love Silver State 300. I'm going to do Vegas to Reno this year. That'd be awesome to win that one.
Yeah.
That's another long race, but I love that track, that course per se.
So you like the smoother, faster?
I just like Vegas to Reno. I mean, I like it when it's a little bit rougher because that kind of separates a lot of drivers.
Sure.
I don't have any desire to go to Mexico though.
Yeah.
For some reason, you know, I did that years ago, and I don't know. I just something with Mexico. I just don't have a desire to go down and race that.
Sure.
Will I go down there? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't have any plans on it in the future.
Well, I mean, it's funny because like there's a lot of stuff to race up here, you know. So it's funny because I love Baja, but I think the upper area is getting a little worn out, and there's we got more stuff up our sleeve. Let's just put it that, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff in the States to race and a lot of places to ride. So I don't think you're gonna run out of anything to do.
The desert's so huge within Nevada, California, Arizona. I mean, there's so much desert out there. There's got to be more out there than just what we have.
Yeah, definitely. There definitely is. So out of all of them, is there a favorite course?
Not really, because they're all fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always liked Parker.
Yep.
Excuse me. Like I said, I like Vegas to Reno. I like the Pro 250 back when that was going on. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I just like to race.
So, obviously we were talking earlier, like, you're busy with your business and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's a lot of hobbies you could do and have a good time. You go golfing. Why do you think you do this? Why do you do this?
I've always been a motorsports junkie. That's pretty much all I watch on TV is some type of racing form or another. I just, I don't know. I've always raced. I like it, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I feel you. I'm the same way. What for you, obviously, like we said, the Mint's coming up, but what are your plans? You're going to race pretty much everything stateside you can and see what you can come up with win wise.
For this year, our plan is obviously do the Mint. I'll do Silver State, Vegas, Reno, California 300 and then I'll do Rage of the River at the end of the year. But in the fillers in between that, I still do all the works races. So you're
staying busy.
There's a lot of stuff, but my wife and I, we take off a lot and we go to Idaho. My daughter moved to Idaho, so we spend a lot of time there. It's just what we're at the time in life where we can take off for a week at a time and just, hang out.
Nice.
We do my wife and I do a lot of stuff together.
That's good. That's good. That helps everything work, right?
Yeah.
Happy wife, happy life, right?
Sometimes.
Nice.
But even when I have a happy wife, I still got a stressful life sometimes. So.
Well, I think we're doing that to ourselves, man.
Yeah.
So, no, that was awesome, dude. I appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
Good luck at the
Thank
Mint.
you.
I'll see you at the finish line.
Yep.